because I did not live up around the mines. I have always lived in this house. So there is no mining encampments right around me. But the hill was always lit up just like a battleship.
Do you remember what stopped him? What ended the searchlights?
No, because I really don't, it's nothing, I just know that they did have lights that they could use. But I do know that they had watchmen at every gate.
Do you remember?
That's what your gunman would be called.
Do you remember D. Stiver's funeral?
No.
You didn't go to that?
Not that I know of. I don't think so. You didn't take children in those days. And I was young.
Do you remember Roy Alley?
The name. The name is there someplace.
Can you tell us anything about the Depression? What do you remember of the Depression?
The Depression, I remember, it did not affect us financially, because my father was head of the relief here. And it was, they really did the office work for the relief around the Chamber of Commerce building on West Broadway. First, I have to say the south side. The first block after the alley on West Broadway. And they did a lot of the paperwork there. Now, where the people got the groceries or where they got their money or their checks, I don't know. I just know that that's something my father handled. I do know that there was supposedly, no one went hungry. And then I do remember one incident, and it was Christmas. Now, I do not remember the man that came to the door. And the phone used to hang right here. And playing with my toys up under the window, Christmas morning, this man comes to the door, and my dad takes him out into the kitchen. Didn't remember that. The only thing I remember is that afternoon, my mother answering the phone and screaming, just fainting, screaming. The man that had come to our door that morning was too proud before then to ask for help. He did. Father took him, they got all the stuff, took him home, they had a nice Christmas, and that afternoon that man hung himself. Now, I don't remember the man. I don't remember. All I remember is my mother. My mother screaming, that man she gave breakfast to went home and hung himself. Now, it just, I'm saying he hung himself. I know he killed himself. I shouldn't say hung. I don't know who he was. It's all lost,
In that period of the 30s leading up to that strike in 35, did it seem like tension was building? Do you remember that, or was it a big surprise, after being so long without a strike? Do you remember that at all?
Oh, I can always remember talking about trouble. There's going to be trouble over this, there's going to be trouble over that, trouble over this. I do remember we used to be coal and wood, and they couldn't deliver coal to this house. So the neighbors, the Killeys next door, they always got a double load of coal and a double load of wood delivered to their barn, and then it was transferred into ours. But no deliveries would be made here. The unions wouldn't deliver.
During the strike.
Do you remember any of the gunmen?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you remember?
Charlie Bedell, Bert Foster. Oh. I remember Hurd, and then he went into the fire department, part of the prog. That's really not fair.
I just thought, but they were like family. They were all around, guys that worked with your dad?
Yeah. They were a little higher up the ladder than the regular. They were more supervisory.
And then who was your dad's supervisor?
I suppose the president of the ACM company, I don't know. I don't know that my father answered to anybody, to be honest with you.
So he may have been pretty high up in the organization.
He was. He was himself. That was him.
But he kept a low profile.
Very.
On purpose?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't need to have his name in the paper. People knew who he was, what he did. It wasn't necessary. I mean, nobody bothered, you know. The men wouldn't bother him. They were afraid of him.
They were?
Uh-huh.
Well, how did he deal with fires?
Oh, that was... Nobody went to a fire on the hill. Because his philosophy, I can't say that he actually did it, but his philosophy was, if there's a fire on the hill, the first thing we do is machine gun down the spectators. Then we get a bulldozer and push their cars out of the way. Then we fight the fire with no problem. Nobody went to a fire on the hill because they weren't too sure Chuck Staples would not machine gun down the spectator. You know what I mean?
He was anxious to control the crowds ahead of time.
Right. There's no reason for anybody to go to a fire. That's why at the Butte High fire up here on Park Street, I said, oh, I hope my father doesn't come by because he'll kill me for being at the fire. I mean, you just did not follow the fire teams or that was none of your business. You stay out of the way, let the experts take care of the problem.
And was he involved in any of those fatalities where they'd have to bring bodies out and take them to the morgue, or did you ever talk about that?
No, that would be in your, no, that wasn't his department.
Okay.
I'm trying to get the department that takes care of that. The head of the Red Cross comes out here after World War II, World War I. Anyway, the American Red Cross, he comes out here, so he wants to go camping up here in one place. So you'll see my father made him build a levee out into the river. Now, you don't wash the dishes from the bank. You build a little rock path out into the river, and you get out into the main stream to wash the dishes. I mean, he made those, no matter who it was, he made them do their own work.
What river was that?
I don't know if, there's a picture there, and it says on the back that the guy's from the American Red Cross. And, but he made him do it.
Well, he must have gotten some of that experience in the military.
Oh, he was. He was a quartermaster in the military, and he was also in the rifle group that shot against England. You know what I mean? He was that kind of a...
So he had a lot of field experience.
Yes, but he was not per se in the war. You know what I mean? He wasn't in the shooting trenches. He was never left the country. He never left. I don't think he ever left Fort Dawes or... He never left the country at all.
Well, so when Stivers was alive, Stivers was his boss.
Yes.
But then after Stivers passed away, he was pretty much the boss.
Yes, he was the boss.
And then he took care of, like when dignitaries came from New York.
Uh-huh.
What kind of role would he play in that?
Make sure all the arrangements were made for their comfort.
Here in Butte?
Here in Butte. Con Kelley had a place, it's from New York, on Swan Lake, as did the Ryans. And Swan Lake was maintained by company personnel. And it was, that's another story. But it was all company men that went up there, maintained it, took care of it. They hired the cooks.
So was this like some of the responsibilities your dad's force had to do these kinds of things?
Yeah.
And then what about when Charles Lindbergh